Awesome. Let me kick it off here. So I think the really cool thing about Nouns is a lot of the funding mechanisms that are in place. A lot of it is also on chain, which is really neat. So whenever something passes, there's a proposed transaction that goes usually to a Gnosis safe. And if I'm not mistaken, when you look at something like Nouns and all the projects associated with it, I'm assuming that each of these kind of projects here has a Gnosis. Is that a correct assumption as well? Cool. Okay, awesome. So yeah, that totally makes sense. I think like with almost like these small squads that provide value to Nouns and like the own projects that they build, it's very common for a Gnosis safe to be kind of created. I'll kind of give a really quick walkthrough because Utopia's entire infrastructure is built upon Gnosis's SDKs. We're almost just kind of like a front end to manage a lot of the workflows that are really kind of required within Gnosis. So I'm not quite sure how deep I'll go into this product with Gnosis specifically, but if most of you know, Gnosis is a multi-sig product. Really what that means is instead of a product like MetaMask, where when I send money to one person, multi-sig is basically a group of people having to approve a transaction, just so there isn't a risk of someone kind of walking away at the funds, and you know, having it all decentralized and having it in a sense of a non-custodial kind of wallet. So that's kind of the product of what Gnosis provides. There's a lot of really good kind of front ends like ours that basically facilitate a lot of these workflows that we've noticed become really common on top of Gnosis. A really quick question as well, and a really quick note, actually it's not a question, is they also have an app store, which is really valuable. So if you ever want to kind of swap within Gnosis's UI, if you ever want to get insurance, if you want to deposit liquidity, there's a bunch of really cool products that allow you to do that right here. So within this process, I think I'll jump right into Utopia because this is kind of a really quick breakdown of what we do. But what I'm going to do really quickly is kind of walk you through Utopia from the very beginning and what that looks like. Feel free to jump in at any point in time, and anybody, so just jump in for sure. But really quickly, so once you are a multi-sig, so really quickly, as a Gnosis safe, you're going to be a signer of a safe, what simply means you're an owner or at least a decision maker of saying if this transaction is allowed to go through. So within our safe, for example, in Utopia's safe, we have what we call a 3 out of 4 owners, which basically means whenever someone proposes a transaction, that means that we actually have to have 3 people approve the transaction before it gets sent out. So now let's imagine this type of workflow and this type of multi-sig wallet with Utopia layered on top of it. So let's go right into Utopia, and you're able to log in with app.utopialabs.com. You could also just find this on our website with utopialabs.com. When you launch the app, you'll see some interface like this. And really what you have to do from day one is connect your personal wallet, which is the multi-sig signing wallet. So one really quick note to make is my MetaMask here is the signer of this Gnosis Safe account right here. So when I do that, I have to connect my personal MetaMask account. So then what we do is we query the Gnosis, and basically from here, we show all of the Gnosis safes that you're at least a signer or an administrator of. And I'll kind of walk through what an administrator means. So once you go through here, you'll see all of the safes that you're kind of working on or a signer of. So really quickly, we have all of the chains available that are EVM compatible. We're not on Solana, but we're all on all EVM chains that you are on. I know that Nouns is primarily on ETH though. Once I do that, I basically click the safe that I want to log into. So now I'm actually in my multi-sig wallet. And this is what Utopia's interface looks like. And I think I heard someone talk a tiny bit about the bulk CSV/batch transaction feature. And I'll kind of show you how we do that. And what's even cooler about Utopia is we have this gasless transaction modal that facilitates these transactions very quickly. So I'll kick things off really quickly. One really cool thing about Utopia is we have this ability to facilitate payments pretty quickly, and we do this with a link. We have a feature called a request link, and what you're able to do is click requests and actually drop this in a group chat. Feel free, Nowners, to jump in and actually request a payment. This is all going to be a test. Sadly, you won't get paid through this, but this is just kind of a way for you to interact with our product and get to really know what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do actually really quickly as well is just pretend that we're a Nouns project. I know it probably doesn't make sense to pretend that we're Nouns, but feel free to request a payment here, or at least just take a look at the UI. So again, the real cool thing about Utopia's payment request functionality is you could drop a request link to any Nouner that you know you're going to have to pay, and then this Nouner can go in and fill out this form to request payment from the multi-sig. So a good example is SharkDAO is I think you've used it again, maybe as an example. I think you might have had an esports team and you wanted to pay someone for potentially a gas reimbursement. Sasquatch can go in, share the request link, and have people fill it out. And basically, it's a really simple interface to basically facilitate payments and to really make sure that you at least have the context around that payment. So again, I'll give this a quick refresh. And this is a really, really useful feature. So throughout this process, we've noticed DAOs like Sushi Swap and other DAOs, and I've seen even Sasquatch now fill something like this out, which is a really, really awesome example, right? So I won't go through tactically what this request form looks like, but again, basically imagine that you're a contributor of a Nouns, maybe multi-sig, or even one of the prop house projects. You want to get paid. You basically simply fill out the address that you want to get paid to. You can even denominate based in USD. So let's just say I want to get paid $500 worth of USD worth of Ethereum. You could say it's related to contributor compensation. You could just say it's related to engineering, etc. So again, all of these tags are going to be customizable to the Nouns project because you might have tags like Nounsel, for example, right? So we'll show you how to kind of create your tags and really build custom workflows around your workflows as well. So I'll submit this again like what Sasquatch did. You could go in and submit it. If it's your very first time submitting it, we have an onboarding workflow for the contributor to submit something like their anonymous name if they want, to really make sure that there's a workflow associated with making sure that there's full context. But let me know if there's any questions regarding this request link workflow here.
Not a question, but I kind of like how it's opt-in. I know with a couple of the multi-sigs that we run, one of the sort of challenges is making sure that the wallets that you're putting in for your transfers are correct, and it's always a source of stress. So one good thing about this I can see is that they're putting in their wallet address, so it's not on us to make sure it's correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as Toady. Like I just went and created that request like so quickly and easily, and it instantly occurred to me that we can just announce to people, yo, make your request here for this amount. And then they can go request and put it down and we can just confirm as admins.
I was just going to say another feature I like on this page is that, so like you can ask for 500 USD as ETH. So like you'll get exact, like the current market rate of 500 USD worth of ETH when that transaction goes through. And you can even actually like say the 30-day average of ETH, like its USD value, and calculate your transactions that way. So it's fairly flexible on like kind of mitigating the instability of ETH and like paying people, the accurate USD values that they want.
Yeah, no, you explained it perfectly and appreciate the break. Awesome. I'm going to continue really quickly. Again, please feel free to chime in at any point in time. So what's really cool as well is like we have what we call kind of like this contributor onboarding flow. Like the contributor doesn't see it yet, but for the people who are a signer or an admin of a Gnosis SAFE, really what we're able to do is actually go in and approve specific contributor wallets. The reason why we do this as a workflow and why we have this idea of verified is not verified on chain, so to say, but it's just a UI that makes it really easy to know that you're paying the right person, the right amount to the right wallet. The one thing that we've noticed is when we served customers like Lido and Sushi, they might have gotten things like spam, or there might have just been this idea that there's tons of people who might be changing their wallet address. So we basically have a way that whenever you submit a new wallet address to actually request payment from a safe, we actually make them onboard. And I think y'all saw that with the ability of basically submitting something as simple as like maybe even like your pseudonymous name. So as a quick overview for the rest of the Nowners, if I submit a random wallet address that I want to get paid to, and enter in specific details, let's just see here and review this payment, you're going to see that I'm going to have to submit a few details. And the reason why we do this is to make sure that like the person who's going to execute the payment or at least send you payment or approve the payment that you're requesting has a tiny bit of context, right? And I think that's a pretty important thing to do to really make sure that they're paying the right person. And we kind of really try to minimize and avoid that use case there. So now let's just imagine that we have all of these requests here, right? A bunch of people, Sasquatch, Ben Body, thanks for requesting payment. Really what's really cool about Utopia is you could actually go in and you could do things like edit amounts, meme payment. You could add another description. You could change it to contributor payment. You said it's travel. You could do a bunch of really cool things here. We're also having an activity pane, which basically allows you to see who's editing certain pieces of information. And then from here, what's really, really cool about Utopia, other than just being able to edit certain amounts, for example, is you could select all of these payments and execute them all in one click, which simply means that you're able to do multi-individuals, multi-tokens, all in one single multi-sig transaction, all done gaslessly. So that's a really, really cool value prop about Utopia, where you're basically, once you go through the entire approve and review process, you're able to go in and execute payments specifically for all the people that you've approved payments for. So really quickly, what I'm going to show you, and I'm going to leave it up for questions as well, is I'm actually going to go in and execute a payment. Sadly, I think my co-founders might not be awake yet, so they might not be able to approve and actually go through the entire execution, but we'll get to the point of showing you exactly what it looks like. So hopefully we could kind of go up to 80% of that process. But I'm going to look at Sassy and BenBody's transactions. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to be like, hey, this is kind of sus. You know, I've never heard or worked with Sassy. I've never paid him before. I'm going to reject the payments. And now I have a clean, fresh batch of payments here that really allow me to go in and now ready to execute. So Utopia, again, uses our Utopia product. So all of these are real use cases specifically for us. I'm going to go in and actually create this transaction. And as you can see here, we have USDC, you know, and we're going to go current price to really make sure that the prices are correct. And we're going to go in, and you could even see how it affects your treasury. Confirm and create this transaction. We're going to let this person load for a few seconds. We're going to sign this transaction. Now, as you can see, it's all going to show up in your transactions module. So this is a really, really cool value prop where I'm even able to share a public signing link. So give me 1 second here. You're, as the nowners, if you ever want to make a transparent, clear transaction in the Gnosis queue transparent and clear, you could even share a signing link. And I'm not scared of sharing this signing link with y'all because you're not able to sign this because all of our security is built upon Gnosis SDKs. So if Sasquatch isn't a signer of Gnosis, of Utopia's Gnosis SAFE, he's not able to go in and actually sign the transaction. So I'm going to leave it up for questions here as well. I'm going to show you another module that we have, which is called recurring plans, and some of our settings and customization functionalities. I kind of skipped a step with the transactions and signing module, but any questions here in regards to our ability to gaslessly execute / transact?
Yeah, that was exactly my question, is how do you gaslessly do it? Are you implementing layer 2 somewhere along the way, or?
Yeah, no, everything is on ETH. So the way it works is this, right? So as soon as all of the approvals of a Gnosis SAFE signature are in place, any wallet is able to go in and actually execute the transaction for them. Hypothetically, there's no incentive for another wallet to go in and execute a Gnosis SAFE transaction if all of the approvals for the transaction are already signed. So what that means is this. When you have all of the signatures, as you can see here in our Gnosis SAFE, we have 3 approvals that are needed. I've automatically approved my transaction, but I'm waiting for my co-founders to approve it as well. But once all of the approvals are in place, what you're able to do is click on this button that says execute. And what we do is we automatically query our hot wallet address to automatically execute the transaction for you. So that's kind of what the workflow looks like and how it's done in kind of a high-level technical method.
But does that mean that technically the Utopia hot wallet is paying the gas?
Correct. For complete transparency as well, the reason why we do that is because we want to really make sure that the design and the payments go really smoothly. That's one. 2 is just we've noticed that a lot of customers find a ton of value within this product. We're doing some things and we'll eventually turn off what we call gasless transactions. We will turn it off eventually. We do not have a timeline for this, but you're completely correct that we're currently fronting the gas fees right now.
Cool, makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, and we batch the transaction for you. Not that gas really matters, but we batch the transaction completely for you. So like we basically kind of reduce that cost, right? And I think one of the nowners was touching on it, but you don't really want to go one by one because doing that, you're going to have everyone sign each transaction. But you also want to have context. If you do such a big transaction, you want to make sure that you're paying the right person with the right amount for the right workflow / project / use case. Or any of the work that they're doing for nouns, right? So it kind of does all 3 of those things in one. Ideally, I'd like to think we can always improve our product, but this is what we kind of have right now. And I think Sasquatch, you are one of our very first earliest users, which is crazy to think about a Shark DAO. I'm sure that you've seen hopefully some UI upgrades over the past few months and year now, almost a year with Utopia. No worries. I will. I'll leave another 30 seconds for any questions. But I'll walk into 2 more tabs, and then from there we'll just do like an open Q&A and just really talk and jam on these things if that works. Yeah. So any questions regarding our public signing link / gasless transaction module? What's really cool is like Sasquatch can go in and share his public signing links. So let's just say you're a nowner and there's a few other people on the multi-sig that you want to get payment from. You could just share a public signing link to everybody and be like, yo, go sign it. And you could even do it on mobile. It's a pretty useful feature where it kind of streamlines the signing / execution experience. So that's kind of what it looks like as well. Yeah, so we're actually doing a pretty good kind of robust bookkeeping like product here on the history page. So that will all be kind of jumped on and shipped over the next few months as well. But we have that in place as well, and we're really excited for that functionality where you're basically able to have like an open ledger / record.
Is there a mobile app or is it just the web app at the moment?
It's a web app right now, but you're able to like, submit a request via mobile, right? It's not super mobile optimized. That's actually exactly what we're working on this month. You're able to sign via mobile, but it's also not like the best and greatest experience, but I believe you're able to submit and do a public signing link. So it's not available, like this interface is not available on web, but you're able to sign and you're able to submit requests via mobile. So we only have 2 pages that are mobile. Awesome. So what I'll do really quickly now is walk through a few other tabs. Other than that, really want to make sure that provides value to some of the Nouns prop house builders. So thanks a lot for bringing up some of the few points that are going to be very valuable there. And I'll kind of get into what we call the recurring plans. So recurring plans are interesting. Think of them as basically just UI templates of people that you're going to pay the same amount to month over month. So I'll kind of leave maybe an open-ended question here. But with prop house, is there ever a workflow where, Sasquatch, you might be on the esports team for Nouns Prop House and, because you're doing operations on some sort of frequent cadence, you get paid maybe $500 USD worth of Ethereum month over month. Is that a common workflow or is it mostly just kind of like a one-time variable payment that changes month over month?
I would say there are regular payments happening like that, and there are stable streams as well. Definitely something a lot of people use or do.
Cool.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about integrating Sablier into this? Like, so you guys, like right now, it looks like you do recurring plans, right? Where like you queue a transaction once a month or something like that. But like integrating actual streams, that would be really cool too.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. We are going to integrate streaming. One thing we're doing right now is evaluating a lot of the streaming providers. So the thing I've noticed is that there's 5 really good products, right? There's Sablier, there's Firo from Sushi Swap, there's Superfluid, there's Llama Pay, and there's probably one more. I forgot the 5th one, but did you all have like a pretty good experience with Sablier?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually, I wasn't aware of any of the other ones. I know there's some others that aren't on layer 1. I'm actually going to check out Firo right now, but Sablier is pretty good. We've had to like create custom transactions for the streams. Like it would be nice if there was like a better, easier to use front end for it, where you just put in the times and the amount of ETH. It's like it's not as user friendly as I wish it was, but once you kind of have the details, it works fine.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, no, we're a big fan of streaming. In fact, we think this is the future. Streaming is basically going to replace our recurring plans, and we're doing some work there as well. So I'm a big fan of streaming, and I totally think that's the future as well. So we'll have that integrated into kind of our front end kind of experience over time.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So again, feel free to jump in with any questions. I'll be really quick with this feature specific. So within payment plans, what you're able to do is this, right? So what's really cool about payment plans is if you know you're going to pay the same amount to the same person month over month, you're able to do that, right? So what's really cool is you have an address book. Give me 1 second. This might be a better example here, but I'm going to go in and approve Sasquatch as a contributor. Once I do that, I'm going to go into recurring plans. I'm going to create a recurring plan here. So let's just say I want to pay Sasquatch. And let's just say Sasquatch, for some reason, gets paid $1,000 USD worth of ETH every month. You're basically able to kind of put in the frequency that you desire here. Again, it might not be super valuable to Nouns. I don't know if there's a specific group of core contributors that might contribute on a basis that makes sense, but streams might make more sense. But we found this to be a really valuable feature. And I think the key difference between us and streams is that if you know that maybe amounts are going to change month over month, but they're probably going to be accurate. So let's just say Sasquatch might get paid $1,020, but it's kind of related to 1,000. It might be a really important use case, but this is a really common workflow for DAOs such as Friends with Benefits that have a group of core contributors that they want to pay once a month. And really what you're able to do there is do the exact same tagging workflow and blah, blah, blah. I'll fill this out like we've seen before. You could go in and review the payments. In this case, let's just say it's twice a month at the mid-month and end of every month. and you're able to go in and submit this payment. Again, a submission of a payment doesn't mean that's going to be on chain. Really what Utopia does is we share a UI now that basically surfaces these features or the frequency that you want to pay someone on, and then we show them in the overdue section. So you're able to go in and create the transaction like you normally do. So that's basically what a recurring payments functionality is. It's pretty simple in regards to the product itself. You also have an upcoming payments functionality. So basically what that means is whenever your transaction is about to be kind of overdue for your recurring basis, we basically kind of pop it up into a group where you're able to go in, batch select, and execute all of them in one click. So again, the only difference between recurring plans and requests is this idea and this ability to basically generate them on a frequent basis, almost as UI templates, so you don't have to go in and actually create a payment request every single time. So if I want to pay Sasquatch, I don't really want to pay him $1,000 a month every single month and do this interface. We basically have a pretty simple way of just kind of automating the interface, at least, without the on-chain implication yet. So again, you're also able to create payments within Utopia as one-time payments. So that's kind of what it looks like as well, where you're basically able to go in, create a one-time payment as well. And for one-time payments, you'll see that it shows up in what we call requests. What we're doing right now is we're consolidating both the frequency, so the recurring plans and requests, into one specific module. So you're able to go in, select every single payment that you ever want to execute through Utopia, all in one single multi-sig transaction. But I'll stop there because I think I ran through both the recurring plans and just our back-end UI to basically creating and doing things like bulk editing to CSV payments, to multi-recipient, etc. But I'll stop here because I think, yeah.
I have a general question to throw out there. This all looks amazing, and each of these features is something, like there's a lot that I would use here. It looks like it's free for now, and I'm just wondering if you could talk to your plans for pricing in the future and what we could expect if we start really building a lot of stuff here, Ron here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So our plan is to be free for the next, shortcoming within the next 2 quarters to a year. For complete transparency, we are venture backed. We recently closed our Series A backed by Paradigm. And that's kind of the way we've been able to just think about building the absolute best product. The way we think we're going to monetize, and this is not fully confirmed yet, is this ability of basically creating like almost kind of like consulting reports for you. So basically, if you ever want to employ a sub DAO to basically create a contributor expense report, we're thinking of basically creating a sub DAO to facilitate that interaction, to basically build more value on top of Utopia's payment products. So that's the way we're thinking about monetization, but we don't have a clear kind of structure in terms of saying, hey, this is when we're going to monetize and this is how we're going to monetize. The way we think about the product, again, is that our payments products are always going to be free. And then we really want to basically be able to collaborate and build with the DAOs that we work with today for potentially building kind of maybe a sub DAO slash, CFO like consulting model as an optional model that you want to pay for. So that's the way we think about monetization over the long run. But again, we're at a pretty almost undecided phase, to be completely frank with you, because we have we're less than a year old still, I'm sure, just like Nouns. So that's kind of the structure slash progress that we're at to date. And the reason why we've been able to focus just so much on the product. And that's kind of the way we want to keep it, which is building ideally the best product out there. Really appreciate it. I usually check this Discord maybe once a day, but feel free to like at me and tag me, and I'll be able to kind of ping my notifications to really make sure I'm able to jump in. So if there's ever anything that I could help with, I know a lot of the things happen on public text, which is awesome. Feel free to just tag me, and I'm happy to jump in for at any point in time. So thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you so much for the questions, and really, really excited to see if there's anything we could ever do to help. So thank you all for hosting me. Really, really appreciate it.